In 1976, one of the fastest rising stars on the international jazz scene was Zbigniew Seifert, the Polish jazz rock violinist who had risen up in the Polish jazz scene during the early part of the decade, and by mid-decade had crossed over and had been working with German band leaders, and by 1976 had made contact on both sides of the pond when he recorded his debut album as a band leader, Man of the Light. And from that album, the track City of Spring. So far, we've got like a really tight melodic theme going on here, pretty accessible, very much in the vein of the comparisons to Jean-Luc Ponty's work from this time period are going to be pretty obvious. And yeah, just when it would have seemed like Jean-Luc Ponty pretty much had the international stage on lock, as far as jazz rock violinists go, it's kind of like move over, guy. Move over, guy. There's a new man on the block. Not to slight the French violinist at all, but he was going to have to share the spotlight for a while. Hear the fluidity of that violin and how it interacts with that piano, that crisp kind of... A lot of cymbal spray going on, giving it kind of a misty vibe. Really tight, like moment right here. Just very thematic. A very melodic piece, you could say, for a jazz. Like so far, stylistically, you could say this is more kind of like kind of verging on like post bop. Like I might. I think we've got maybe we've got piano, drums, electric bass, and violin. So we're pretty much we're almost all just all acoustic, I think, except for the bass. If you follow the bass line, it's just a very simple yet effective melodic hummable pattern. Dun 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 dun, like. A lot of movements like a step and a half movements, like going up 3 notes rather than 2. Maybe either 3 or 4. Hear the fluidity of his bowing. Oh God! Just hear the way that. Just imagine how fast he's like moving both hands like in different directions. The way he has to like bend the bow in different ways to get it to get the tones to resonate slightly differently, like. Now we're getting kind of free form. It's like a spinning vortex at this point. There is kind of like a loose sense of the underlying structure, but barely. I can still kind of hear kind of the same basic rhythmic component. Just the playing is just. Beautiful. It's like a sonic windmill. And now finally the theme. I think maybe the piano is going to take over for just a bit. Let's see, who do we got here? On piano, the one and only Joachim Kühn. Yeah, band leader in his own right, who was very prolific around this time. In fact, should be another subject. I gotta get to him while this month is still on, like in the 76 to 76 hashtag. Let's see, on bass, Cecil McBee. Oh yeah, the prolific American post-pop free bassist, and. Let's see here. Drums, Billy Hart. Oh yeah. All these people did their own albums around this time. Yeah, Billy Hart did some like really energetic free jazz albums around this time. Those four, and our main guy, Zbigniew Seifert. Yeah. There is another track on the album that features Jasper Van Hoff. Okay, now we're getting quite a storm worked up here between Joachim Kühn and Billy Hart. Oh, did you hear that drum roll? Getting so dense, so just gloriously, just all these notes like sounding off at the same time. Oh, all those tinkly runs amid just the hurricane of percussion. Finally, a shape is just starting to reemerge, but just amid all the flurry of notes and. I love that when there's all this chaos going on, just the sonic windmill, and yet through it all, the shape of the composition slowly reemerges, and you have different instruments kind of like fighting against it, some getting swept up back into it. Got a really tight, very hummable piece. Very like this could definitely be have been like a gateway piece for a lot of non-jazz listeners at the time. And I imagine that's kind of why he gained such tractions, because he knew how to strike that balance between like composed, tight, and then loose and free flowing. Yeah, this is taking things a lot further than Jean-Luc Ponty would have gone. I mean, we went into much more avant-garde territory here than anything Ponty had on record. So I guess the comparisons are just kind of superficial between the two of them. This is much more jazz-oriented than Ponty's work from the time period. Oh, just hear those sustained notes on the violin and just the others just kind of playing it out to the hilt. Oh, those striking notes that frame the piece and give it its shape, give it its tightness, give it its... Yeah, Zbigniew Seifert. Yeah, the 1976 release Man of the Light on MPS Records. An album that put him on the international map for a career that would be very active for the next few years until sadly his life was cut drastically short at age 32 when he succumbed to cancer, I think in 1979. After having released three proper albums, and then a few albums of unreleased material was released in the aftermath. And this is the kind of mournful piece, or sounding stillness from the album. Kind of a little spooky, kind of haunting stand-up bass. Yes. Let's see. In his decade-long career, he worked with everyone from Volker Kriegel, Jan Wobleski. I did one on him a while back. The people I mentioned that were in his band on this album, Charlie Mariano, and he would even work with Glenn Moore. Yeah, of the band Oregon. Yeah, and of course Ursula Dudziak. He's been on albums with all kinds of people: Jack Bruce, Jan Hammer, Philip Catherine, the Belgian guitarist, Wolfgang Downer, Hans Kohler, Eberhard Weber. Yeah. Oh, and the English jazz musicians, John Marshall and John Taylor. Yeah, so several different countries, and yeah. Anyway, For more rubies and sapphires from the catalog of Zbigniew Seifert, see the directory of albums by Polish artists linked in the description below. For red hot tracks and purples from the entire from a range of Polish jazz rock musicians from the 70s and 80s, as well as from other Eastern Bloc countries, because it's actually a directory over 600 albums strong of albums from the former Eastern Bloc. Like and subscribe and follow me on social media, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the track we just heard, the layers, the interplay, the instrumentation, the soloing, and just who had the best moment, and just the overall incredible interplay of the piece. Yes. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most ear-traveled trim maximalist, signing off.